Hello and welcome to Sports Frenzy with me, Jones. Today I have a special guest. His name is Dean Beckwith. He's actually a friend of mine. I think how many years ago is it now? About probably 15 years or so. And yeah, 15 years. And I think last year, I think that's probably the first time I saw Dino since 2005. We did our level two coaching badge together. And it was good to see Dino. So whilst everyone is in isolation, lockdown, nothing much happening on TV anyway, I decided to get Dino on Sports Frenzy to have a chat with him. Dean, how you doing, mate? How you coping?
Do you know what, mate? It's been okay. I've got the two kids with me. At first they sort of loved being off school, excited, didn't want to go back. But I think if you ask them now, they both say that they're ready to go back, mate. But yeah, no, it's been okay, mate. Luckily, we've got a garden
Yeah.
with a trampoline in it, so they're out in the garden quite a lot of the day, and especially the last sort of week, we've had decent weather. So we've had a couple of barbecues over the weekend. The kids have been in the garden, so it hasn't been too bad, mate. So yeah, we did
Yeah,
okay with
good
it.
stuff. And you're still playing. Yeah, I thought you hung up your boots, mate. You're still playing.
Yeah, still playing, mate. I signed for Havant and Waterloo in the summer of
Yeah.
2019. So was there obviously this season. We actually stopped training due to obviously what's going on in the middle of March. We was due to have another. I think we had 8 or 9 games
Yeah.
left. But unfortunately, it seems like it's sort of obviously stopped now. Obviously, there's much bigger things going on, so you can understand that. But we were second in the league. We were 3 points behind Wheelstone. They had a game in hand, but we started to really hit a bit of form the last month or so before we stopped. They started to drop a few points here and there, so it was getting real tight. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, mate, that sort of stopped until further notice,
Any
really.
goals this season from you?
Mate, you won't believe this. I'm on. We played Dorking
Right.
away the Saturday before the season got cancelled, and I scored a 95th minute winner. You'd have to have a look at it, Pat. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Left foot
Ooh.
volley from a corner. So yeah, that was literally 95th minute. They took kick off, and the referee blew up for full time.
Good
So
stuff.
yeah, yeah. So that was my last touch of the ball for the
Yeah.
season, and it was a goal as well, mate. So yeah,
Well, you gotta be
nice,
happy with that one, ain't you?
definitely,
How many goals you
definitely.
got this season then?
So that put me on three. That was my first, and I normally average about five, mate. So I had two more in the bag coming.
All right, Dina. Let's start from the beginning. Um, and the purpose of this show as well is to help the young ones as well because I get a lot of text messages about how we got into the game, what happened, what was it all about. So um, let's hear from your side. I've shared my stories. Let's hear from you. Obviously, you lived in Kent,
Yeah.
and so my guess is you're playing for a local club, right?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I mean, I was one of these. I wasn't at a sort of pro club growing up, and I never went to Chelsea or an Arsenal or Tottenham or anything like that. I was playing local football. Scout was there.
Bernie Dillon.
Bernie, yeah, Bernie was there. After the game, just sort of come up to me and my dad, and he just said, "Look, do you fancy coming down to Gills, have a little trial for the under 16s? It was at the time. I think I was in my last year at school." So I was obviously like, yeah, so went down there for 6 weeks, and they offered me a scholarship. Well, it was a YTS back then,
Yeah.
mate. Uh, 15, 20 years ago, it was a YTS. So from there, mate, there that they offered me.
Hang on. Wait. Because I don't know.
No, it was
I don't know if you recall, but I think the first time I saw you was at one of these trial games, and back then the Jill's kit was the Inter Milan style of kit. Do you remember the blue and
the
black?
blue and black.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't know if you remember, but we got there late. I was with Bernie, and I
sure.
think you must have been in the change room. and Benny's gone.
Shock you were late anyway.
Nothing new there, mate. and Benny's gone. You're right, do you know? You know how Benny sounds. You're like, yeah. And he's gone to you. Oh, what's happening with you then? And you've gone, because you had to come off. You've gone, I just hurt my side. And Benny's gone, all right. So I've walked out, going to the pitch, and Benny's turned around and said to me, my side? Is he sure?
No, I don't remember that at all, mate. Gone, really? Yeah. Hammering me.
He's gone, you're 6'5". My side? I don't know what I'm going to do with that, lad. So
really?
That was on
no, mate. I don't remember that at all.
That was my first time seeing you at the change room. Yeah. And then, of course...
Good impression.
Yeah. Of course, to be fair, after the game, he said you were going to get signed anyway. Probably they've offered... you were offered the YTS anyway, the scholarship anyway. So, yeah, so that was the first time I saw you, mate. It was a good impression, but for mate, who knows? So anyway, let's talk about signing for Gillingham. Your first time coming to... Anyway, let's talk about Brems, actually, because your first time meeting Brems. What was it like for you?
Yeah, do you know, obviously Brems was our youth team manager, wasn't he? It was him and Darren Eyre. Yeah. I don't really remember the first time I met him, but Brems is one of them. Like he was hard working. He was he was strict, very strict, hard working, and he never really messed about when Brems was about, because you know, if you did, mate, then you was going to be running up and down the stadium. So yeah, I mean, it's always something that stuck with me, really. Like his work ethic. If there was something to be done, instead of like getting other people to do it, which he should have done, he should have maybe made us do it. Brems would do it. He loved grafting. Yeah, he got on with it, mate. He loved grafting. I always remember one time, mate, we were training, and it was a red hot day. We were training, and he joined in. Obviously, he was a good player, very good, very strong. And something happened. I don't know what happened. He either got an elbow in the mouth or something, and his tooth come out, and he spat it into his mouth. And all the lads were there, like blood dripping out of his mouth. All the lads were there thinking, "Oh my God!" And he just spat it out, threw it on the floor, and carried on playing. And I was thinking, "Oh my God!"
I remember that day.
Yeah, mate, that's stuck with me. That's stuck for the last 20 years. Just thinking, wow, and I think that was in the our earlier time. So it just made me think, wow, this bloke, like he's serious. So yeah,
how do you think someone like Brems will fit in today's football?
Mate, I think a lot's changed, isn't it? There's so much that's changed. From even now, seeing sort of young lads, even the last sort of 4 or 5 years of my career, obviously coming towards the end, but seeing young lads come through, it's so different, mate. It's so different. No one does anything anymore. I mean, you've heard all these stories, but no one cleans any boots. No one don't clean the stadiums and things like that. Football's changed so much, mate. And back then, it was a lot tougher, a lot stricter. You never really spoke back to anyone. If someone took from the first team, told you to move, you moved. Go and get them a cup of tea. You got a cup of tea. Things like that, mate, don't happen anymore. So yeah, I mean, he might find it a bit tough actually, because he was old school. If there was anyone old school, it was Brems. But I mean, I think it done well for us, mate. It set us in good stead. You know, it gave us a real good upbringing and something that stuck with me. And I think one of the factors why I'm still sort of playing now at my age is just from them early years, just knowing the graft and that you had to put in if you wanted to play football at any sort of level, really. So yeah, he really helped me out in the early years, definitely.
My first encounter with Brems, I think, of course, it was that day, and he was wearing shorts and t-shirt, and it was cold. I was freezing, and at first I couldn't understand the word Brems was saying to me. All I could hear was the effing this, effing that. I understood that part. Then I realized, you know, as you said, Brems just doesn't like shortcuts. He just want people to do 100%. The right thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Another story, Pat, and I don't know if you remember this, right? So we were training youth team, right? And I think Brems was just on your case, and
On my
on your
case,
case, yeah.
yeah.
And I think we're playing. I think was it attacking and defense. Anyway, so I've gone short, right? You followed me, and then I spun,
Yeah.
right? And the ball's gone
Right.
over your
Yeah.
head, and and
Things ain't changed, mate. Things ain't changed.
and all I could hear from you, because you were right behind me. All I could hear you saying was shank, shank, shank,
And
and
did you? 100%
I
you missed
probably
as well.
did. I couldn't stop laughing, and I could hear Brems going, Dino. But yeah, so anyway, so in terms of youth team, right? What do you think? I know you've touched on the what you learned from Brems, but in terms of as a youth team player, what do you think you learned during your time before obviously you signed your professional contract?
Um,
And how did your game improve from?
yeah. No, definitely, mate. I mean, I think once you go into that, because obviously when we went into the youth team, we started training every day,
Yeah,
and not straight away. You don't really get involved with the first team, but obviously back then it was us, the second years and the third years. So
yeah,
obviously, it was the 3 years. So you're playing with lads who are decent, who have been involved in the first team, who've sort of come out and trained. So just picking up little bits from them, training every day, you become fitter, you become stronger. You start to understand a lot more tactically and where you need to be. Especially me being a centre back, a lot of it is sort of based on understanding. And I was only young then. As I said, I'd played midfield before
yeah.
that. So just starting to pick up things from the guys who were playing in my position, who were that year or 2 years older than me. So yeah, I think the main sort of thing was train, mate. Getting that fitness, getting stronger, getting more tactically aware, and then being in and around the first team,
Yeah.
even just watching them train at times. Watching the likes of Barry Ashby, Guy Butters, Adi Pennant,
Tom,
Chris Hope,
Tomo,
too.
Tomo,
Tomo,
yeah,
Tomos, yeah, Tomo. Um, but watching the sort of centre halves,
yeah.
like
That
obviously
time, yeah,
them lads who I've just mentioned there, and they had so much experience and so much know-how, and just picking up little bits from them, just watching them, and then thankfully, like after I sort of signed the pro, but being a pro with them for 2 years as well, like being involved with them, talking to them every day. So them early sort of years that really, really stood me in good stead.
right. Now, as obviously signing a contract, being offered professional contract. Me personally, I felt like looking back now, anyway, um, that was probably one of the hardest times at Gillingham, simply because our group, myself, you, Crofty, Flats, Mills, who else?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, right?
Ryan, yeah,
Ryan. I think that's
yeah,
about it,
yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think at that time Flats was injured, but I think who was it? I think it was either Miller that went
Mm-hmm.
in and obviously came out, and he was upset, really upset, because at that
Mm-hmm.
age, being told that look, unfortunately, you ain't gonna get a contract, that must have
Yeah,
been very,
definitely.
very difficult. So I look back at that time thinking, obviously, it still happens now, right? But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with all the mental health issues and whatnot, during that time was really, really tough. When did you know? I'm sure you had a clue, Pat. You did, didn't you? That you were gonna get a contract. You did.
Yeah, I think it was sort of maybe a couple of weeks before, because I don't know if you remember, mate, but towards the end, when we were due to get told, I sort of broke my
Yeah,
ankle.
yeah, I did. Yeah,
I we played a reserve game on, I think it was a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, away at
yeah,
Portsmouth, and on the next day at training, we were just warming down, playing
yeah,
a little head tennis, and I've gone for the ball, and I've slipped and landed funny, and broke my ankle. So I know I've gone off story here, but they sort of told me in the hospital that I'd never play football again. That the actual doctor, he said to me like that it's bad. You broke it. You've done the ligaments. You've done this, done that, and you'll do well to walk properly again, let alone play football. And so, mate, I was in tears in the hospital, and I remember it was actually Miller, and I think someone, I can't remember who else was it, but Mills was with me, and someone else, I'm not too sure who it was. So yeah, that was real tough. But I think because of that, they sort of told me I was going to be getting something anyway. I think obviously the physios knew that I'd probably be out for 4 or 6 months or whatever. It was coming towards the end of the season anyway, so I was looking to be back for pre-season the following season, or maybe just after. So yeah, I think Brems and Darren Ayre sort of told me that I'd be getting a contract anyway, which obviously helped at that time because I thought, right, that's it. Obviously, I'm going to get released. I've got a broken ankle. I'm not going to play football again. So yeah.
So all right, and then what? Just about to move away from the from youth team, but what would you say was your most memorable game, youth team level at that time? It's got to be FA Youth Cup, surely.
Yeah, FA Youth Cup, Aston Villa, wasn't it? Aston Villa. We drew them away, didn't we? We drew. Was it 0-0?
0-0 away.
We drew 0-0, and then what happened at home? I can't remember. Did we lose on penalties or something?
Yeah, we lost on penalties at home. Yeah,
we lost on penalties. Yeah, but playing at Villa Park back then, because it was actually at Villa Park, wasn't it? Yeah, that was unbelievable, mate. That was absolutely like one of them. Even now, mate, I think there's a couple of pictures that I've seen recently at Villa Park, and it's unbelievable, mate. It's still obviously one of the best stadiums now, back being a Premier League team. But yeah, to play there at sort of, how old was we? 17, 18. To play there, mate, was definitely one of the highlights of the youth team. Yeah,
there's always talks about the work actually starts when you sign your first professional contract. And I think you mentioned Barry Ashby, Hopi, and AD. Mentioned a few names.
Yeah.
And, of course, coming in from the youth team setup, these are the players that are ahead of you. And this is where the work actually started. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from my stand, I just felt like no matter what I did, it was going to be difficult to break through, right?
100%, mate. Yeah. To be honest, mate, in my first year, I never really sort of expected or thought I was going to play because of the people you mentioned there, the Guy Butters, Ash, Hopi, AD Pennock. So I never really expected to play, and I never really thought I was ready in my first year anyway. But to learn off them, to train with them, to train against the likes of the forwards who we had then, Rod Wallace, Tommy Johnson. A bit later on, obviously Marlon King, Darius Henderson, big, strong, Iffy, mate, just training against them day in, day out. Towards the end of my first year, going into that summer, I felt I'd improved so much more as a player. And then coming back in the second year, obviously the club. Fighting relegation, really, wasn't it? It was a case of fighting relegation. Hess was the manager, and he always said that we'd sort of get our chance. And I did believe him. I think he was genuine about actually saying that and giving us a chance. But the situation the club were in, obviously fighting relegation, it wasn't really the time to put any of us youngsters in. Especially, I felt being a centre half, I was never really going to get a chance. As a forward. You might come on. I think Crofty come on quite a few times in that second year. But as a centre back, mate, I never really felt I was gonna play unless someone got injured. There was a couple of injuries there, which was unfortunate, really, because I would have liked to obviously played a couple of games at least and see how I got on. But it never really materialised, mate.
Well, looking back now, Pat. What stories do you remember at your time at Gillingham? Whether changing rooms or playing against other teams?
Oh, mate. Just, I think the main sort of ones are sort of us lads being together as in a youth team, really. Because as I said, I never really got that chance as being a pro. Although like we went away on
Or
pre-season tour a couple of times.
playing for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
reserves. Yeah.
Resis. Yeah, playing the reserves. But that sort of bond and that we had in the youth
Yeah.
team, especially our year, like that
Yeah.
5 or 6 of us, mate. It was good. It was real good. But yeah, I mean, I never really got the chance to play in the first team. I made 2 appearances. One was left midfield and one was centre forward, mate. So weren't saying I was used to, but no, I mean, mate, the whole experience of it. I met some good people and obviously helped my career massively.
Do you remember that game against Norwich? The
Norwich.
Resi game. And Healy was in charge. Charlie was in goal.
Don't, mate. No, no. I remember being on the bench there for the first team,
Yeah.
Norwich away.
Okay.
But I don't
All right,
remember the Resi game.
all right, let me try and refresh your memory. Right,
Go on. What did I do?
no, not you, not you. I'm sure you were there, Pat.
Yeah,
Whitey played centre half, right?
yeah.
So I remember Healy absolutely killed my confidence that day. By the way, so
Oh, really?
yeah, so this was the time when the flashy boots just came out. So I had the black and white boots, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've pulled out my bag, put them on, and Healy's
Oh, no.
walked past and did a double take. And he's
Yeah.
looked at me, he's gone, mate, you got to be a good player to wear them. And then obviously, how old was I? I think about 18. And absolutely
Yeah.
shattered my confidence. And then I try and put him back in my bag. And then Lovers is gone, no, don't listen to him. Come on, put him on. This was the
Really?
game,
Yeah.
right? That I think it was just a long ball through. And Whitey's gone to clear it. And Charlie shouted Sid. And Whitey let it run. And the ball ended up in the back of the net. Were you not there? I'm sure you were
Yeah,
there.
mate. Now that you're saying that, it sort of does ring a bell a little bit.
I was
It does ring a bell. I remember playing there. I definitely remember playing there. So it probably was one of them.
All right,
that
now
game.
let's move on because I think the last game I remember that we played, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was against Reading. And I think that was the game your agent came to watch. And I think we won that game. And at the end of that season, I think that was when, everyone more or less went their separate ways. And of course, you ended up at Hereford. Was that process smooth, moving from one club to the other?
Not really. I mean, what sort of happened was obviously Jules got relegated that year, and I think it was Neil Cooper who come in as manager, and
No,
I had
it
a
was
meeting.
Ronnie Jepson.
Ronnie Jepson, that's it.
Ronnie
Yeah,
Jepson,
Ronnie Jepson. Sorry. No, but I think Neil Cooper coming as manager, but I had a meeting with Ronnie
yeah.
Jepson. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I had a meeting with Ronnie Jepson, and he just said, obviously, that's right. Hang on, I'll rewind because Stan Turner
Yeah, Stan.
and Ronnie
Yeah,
Jepson. Stan was manager. Ronnie was his assistant. But I think at the end of the season, Stan left.
yeah,
Neil Cooper was coming in as
yeah.
manager, but Ronnie Jepson stayed there for a little bit. And he just said, look, the manager hasn't seen you play. And so he's bringing his own players in and you have to leave kind of thing. So I left there and Wayne Jones, remember Joe?
Yeah.
He was obviously the assistant manager at the time. He went to Hereford and he was physio towards the end of the season before we got released. And in the summer, he just said to me, look, it's a long way from home, but you'll love it up here. Come up here. You have to stay up here. But I spoke to the manager about, and he wants to offer you a contract on he sort of say so, So I thought that was really sort of decent of Jonah to do that for me. I was speaking to a couple of other clubs. There was Aldershot and another other club in the conference at the time. But I actually went up to Hereford and I met Jonah and I met the manager at the time, Graham Turner, and a couple of other people up there. And I just thought, you know what, I was 20, 21, and it was kind of once in a lifetime opportunity just to get away, move away from home and start again really. So yeah, I've done that. Went up there.
And Rosie was there as well, right?
No,
Or
not
Rosie
to
came
begin
later.
with. Yeah, I think Rosie came. It was definitely 1 year. It might have been 2 years
Okay.
later. Him and
John
John
Wallace, yeah.
Wallace. Remember
Yeah.
Johnny? He was I think a year
Younger than us,
younger than
yeah.
us in the
Yeah.
youth team. They were in the same summer. But yeah, Rosie he done really well up there. I remember he played a lot of games up there. I don't think John played as many. I think he had a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
But Rosie come up late for I think he was there for 2 years, and he done well up there. Done really well.
All right. So then, obviously, going to Hereford, you finally got your chance
Yeah,
to be playing week in, week out.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's it. But yeah,
no, go on, go on.
yeah, no, yeah. So that's exactly right. Went up there. At the time, they had a centre back pairing who had done quite well, and I think they actually signed me there to maybe be sort of third choice. But I went there in pre-season, done well in training and things like that, and in the pre-season games. And I started the first game. I scored in that game as well. We won 4-0. I think we beat Scarborough at home 4-0. And from then on, mate, I played the next sort of 10, 15 games, and that was it. I sort of made that position mine, really.
Yeah.
There. So yeah, it worked out really well for me.
A lot of people. I think who was it that said? I think it was probably Teddy Sheringham. I think I read it in his book or somewhere, and he was asked about going out on loan, and his response was he hated going out on loan. And of course, during your time at Gillingham, you were sent out on loan. I think a couple of times, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Is it the same
I went
thing?
to. I know what he can mean because if you're going somewhere for a month and you're a young lad and you're sort of coming fresh out of playing reserve team football, youth team football, and I went to Dagenham and
Yeah,
Redbridge in the
yeah, yeah.
conference, and I went there for a month, and you're literally playing against men. Um, there's no messing about anymore. They're playing for win bonuses, clean sheet bonuses, playing against big, strong guys every week. So if you don't go there, it doesn't go well, then I think it can sort of have a very sort of detrimental effect on you if you're only a young lad and haven't got much confidence in your own ability. I think there's some occasions where it can sort of work against you, but I think luckily for me, it sort of went quite well. I played 4 or 5 games in the month that I was there. Done well. Played on TV. Played on Sky, so I done well in that game as well. So that gave me a bit more confidence.
You did an interview after a game. Just talk us through that interview.
No, yeah. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, mate. But I've got a lot of stick. I've got a lot of stick over the years for not looking at the camera, and I had a water bottle in my hand, and I kept sort of like doing that and trying to hide my face or something. I've not seen it back for about 10 years, mate. I don't want to watch it back either. But yeah, I was nervous to go on Sky and do an interview then, mate. Definitely.
So your first season at Hereford, you established yourself as a first team player, and at that time, were you thinking, okay, you're gonna try and use Hereford as a stepping stone to try and push up, or you felt okay, so I'm just gonna stay here and just see how it goes, really?
Yeah, I mean, the first year went really well. We actually got promoted from the conference. In my first year, we won the playoffs. We beat Halifax in the playoff final and got promoted up into League Two. So yeah, that went really well, and I never really had any thoughts about leaving then in that summer. I wanted to stay there and experience, obviously, playing League Two football. And I don't think I had any sort of chances of leaving then. I know, sort of maybe in that year after playing a year in League Two, there was a few clubs that were looking at me at the time. But no, nothing really sort of materialised. Yeah, so I stayed at Hereford for another sort of 2 years. But we went up to League One,
Hmm.
um, And so again, when we went into League One, I never really, I didn't want to leave. It was obviously a chance to play League One football. There was, yeah, massive. There was, I think, well, Leeds were in League One then, Leicester, Peterborough's. There were some real good teams in there, mate. So it was playing against them sort of teams every week. It was so good for me. So yeah, I mean, we actually got relegated that year from League One, but there was some like our budget to obviously the teams that were in it, mate. We was always fighting against it. But it was a real good experience for me.
Let's talk a bit about being in the same league as the likes of Leicester, Leeds, and of course, if you looking at teams like that financially, these are big established football clubs, and of course, when it comes to football, everyone talks about players. At the end of the day, as soon as you cross the white line, it doesn't matter how much this player is worth or that player is worth. But there's a real difference, isn't there, with a team that's got that money machine or an established club playing against teams like that?
Absolutely, mate. 100%. And I know it's obviously 11v11. Everyone's got two legs and such, but when you've got the sort of budgets that the Leeds, the Leicester have got, they're getting the crowds, they've got the finances behind them. They obviously attract the best players, and probably players that should be playing in League One, but they're there because they're on good contracts. So yeah, I mean, fair play to them, lads. But yeah, there was massive differences between us and the sort of top sort of six, eight clubs in the league at the time. You look at Leeds and Leicester, I think when we played them away, there was like 35,000 there. Whereas when we played at home, although we had real good fans and real good following away. I mean, away fans were unbelievable, as they are a lot of clubs. But at home, we were sort of getting attendances of like 5,000-6,000, which is good. It's good, obviously, for Hereford and some of their better years. But when you compare that to obviously your Leeds, your Leicester, we're in the same division, but we're probably leagues apart.
And just touch on some of the most memorable moments for you at Hereford.
Mate, yeah, there was a few really. Obviously, going there. I scored on my debut, which obviously got me off to a good start. We got promoted in that year as well. Playing, unfortunately, mate, the playoff final that year we played at Leicester's ground. It was the year before the new Wembley actually opened, so we missed out on that by a year. But that day, playing at Wembley, at Leicester, mate, the playoff final, it was absolutely superb. We beat Halifax in extra time. I can't remember how many Hereford fans were there, but I think there must have been sort of 20,000-25,000. It was unbelievable, mate. Everyone from the city left, all the surrounding areas. The build up to it, the week, 10 days build up, mate, was unbelievable. All the press, all the attention and things like that, and then to actually go and do it on the day, mate, was such a good feeling. So yeah, those kind of days, and then going up to League One, we went up second. Might have been second or third in the league. So 3 teams went up from League Two then, and we played Brentford away, and if we won or drew, we'd go up. But we went there and we won towards the end of the season, so it was a red hot day. I remember that. I actually see a few pictures of it. The shots after the game, we all went down to the fans behind the goal and cheering in front of them, and then we went back to Hereford that night. And then we sort of went out for 2 days, mates, 2 days straight. So, yeah, we had a real good sort of group of young lads, you know, who sort of moved from their different areas of the country and sort of stayed together. And we had a real good team spirit there. So yeah, those years were, especially the first 3 years, mate, they were really good. Really good.
All right, now, as you mentioned, you're still playing, and of course, as you're coming towards the end of your career, a lot of the time, you want to be closer to home. You've got family now, and a lot of players tend to play, you know, whether semi-pro or still playing a conference, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is the difference? Okay, because at the end of the day, football is football. But a lot of people, when it comes to Conference South, the what people say about that league is just head, kick, and run.
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? I mean, over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years, there's so many sort of good and talented players that are sort of filtered down. I think it has not the knock-on effect really from sort of the Premier League, the Championship. Everyone sort of filters down a bit. Where the sort of foreign lads to come over and improve the Premier League. Obviously, the good players in the top flight 10 years ago have obviously filtered down. So that has a knock-on effect. But don't get me wrong, mate. There's obviously games where you come and watch and you think, bloody hell, and how do you get paid to play football? But I mean, there is some real good quality in the Conference South, mate. Even the leagues below. But I mean, the Conference South, the Conference North, even the Conference now. If you look at the sides that are in the conference, I mean, Notts County, Wrexham's. There's some massive teams. Tranmere in it a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, the standard of football now in the conference and the Conference South is a hell of a lot better than it used to be probably 10 years ago, mate. Definitely.
I remember I think a couple of years ago actually, the FA Cup against Arsenal. Had the likes of Theo Walcott. I thought you had him in your pocket, to be fair.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that, mate, but yeah, thank you very much.
What a game that was.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, mate. The build up to that, we sort of, so this is when we was at Sutton, we was in the conference. I think we beat Cheltenham, last minute goal to beat them to go through. We then beat Wimbledon over 2 legs, which obviously Wimbledon and Sutton are like local rivals. There's like 4 or 5 miles between them. I think we drew 0-0 at our place, and then we beat them 3-1 at their place on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, which was unbelievable for the club. And then we got Leeds at home, and then in the next round, then we beat them, and then we went on to draw Arsenal at home, mate, which was unbelievable. As I was saying earlier about the build up to the conference game, the build up to this, mate, was unbelievable. There was camera crews from Russia, France, Germany, Spain, anywhere you can think of, mate. I think even China, their camera crews from China, mate. It was massive. So yeah, it was huge, mate. It was huge. The build up. Sky Sports came down. Paul Merson, Matt Letizia. Actually, on the morning of the game, there was obviously people throughout the squad doing bits for the press, the papers, and things like that. And GMB, Good Morning Britain, they wanted to do an interview, and so I thought it was obviously going to be on the telephone in the morning or whatever. But it actually turned out that a camera crew turned up to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning of the game, mate. The morning of the game. And yeah, we actually done a live interview with Piers Morgan. It was about 6:30 or 7 o'clock, something like that, on the morning of the game, because he's a massive Arsenal fan, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
So that was an unreal experience, mate. Just being like on the TV, talking to him about the game and things like that. It was just it was all part of it, mate. It was a once in a lifetime experience for the likes of us down at our level, mate. So it's something that lived with me. I had the kids on the TV as well, and they were both, well, I only had 2. I had the 2 boys then. I've got a little girl now, but at the time, they were mascots for the game as well. Walked out with me. Got pictures and things like that. Got to shake the Arsenal players' hands and that. So yeah, it was an unbelievable experience, mate.
No, I must give it to you guys, man. That was a really, really good time for Sutton United, and looked like you had a really good team. You had Craig Eastman and who else? I keep forgetting. I actually trained with him, the striker. Was he a winger or a striker?
Rory Deacon.
Rory, yeah.
Nicky
Nicky
Bailey,
Bailey,
he
yeah, Bailey,
obviously
yeah, yeah.
Nicky Bailey, mate. Yeah, we had some real good players. As you say, Eastie, he was at Arsenal.
Now let's talk a bit about the transition period because as you did mention, you're coming to the end of your career now. You're not training as much as you would like to, um, and also it's like you're coming back to the real world now, so to speak. How did you manage to navigate your way through? Because we've seen so many ex-players that have really struggled to adapt to life in general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a little bit different for us, sort of at our level. I mean, I've never really had the mindset whereas once I stop playing football, I'm never gonna have to work again. I've always knew that I'm gonna have to work just because of the level I've played at and things like that. So it's always been on my mind. I've got my coaching badge. I've got my UEFA B. I do a bit of coaching, and that's something that I'm going to look to go into. I also I worked in an accountancy place. I've got some tax qualifications
Oh, right.
that I've got a little a tax return business that I've set up. So yeah, I've got my qualifications for that, and that's something that I look to go into, like tax advisory. And things like that. So yeah, I'm working. I am doing things outside of football, knowing that I wanted to get myself something sort of set up. Because to be honest, mate, I want to carry on playing for another couple of years at least. I know I'm fit. I feel fit. I mean, I've been playing at a half decent standard last year and the year before, so I do want to carry on. But I'm also well aware that if obviously it did come to an end, mate, then I've got a sort of a pathway of where I want to go, rather than sort of finishing and then thinking, right, Jesus, what do I do now, kind of thing, you know. So yeah, as I said, I've got my badges, and I've got a little sort of other thing going on with tax and that. So yeah, it's something that I thought about for a few years, mate.
And I guess you always encourage people because I know that people that be watching this probably, I don't know, the moms, the dads, everyone wants to be a footballer now. Sorry, everyone wants to play football, but the truth of the matter is, not everyone can be like Ronaldo, Rooney, Salah, you name it.
Yeah,
And it's always good to have more or less like a plan B, something to fall back on, right?
definitely, 100%, mate. Something that I tell my kids all the time, all the time, mate. Get your education, have something that, as you say, mate. Don't get me wrong, I'd love for my boys. Well, one of them anyway. He wants to be a footballer. The other one doesn't. But I'd love him to be a professional footballer. But the likelihood is, as you say, mate, he's not going to be a professional footballer. So I want him to get his education as well, and I stress it so much. You're actually going to school every day, so go there and do your best. Get something behind you. Don't get me wrong; it'd be unbelievable if he played football at some sort of level and made a living and a career out of it. But the likelihood is it's not going to happen. There's 0.1% or whatever it is of
Yeah,
people who actually make it and actually make it real.
big
Who make
time.
a full
Yeah.
time career out of it. Yeah, exactly, mate. So yeah, I mean, I probably was told it as a kid growing up, but I never took it in as much as I should have now. And that's if I've got one regret. They say you shouldn't have regrets, mate. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change my career for anything. But I do wish that I'd probably got a bit more education behind me and learn a bit more. But I mean, I suppose in my case, you're never too young,
Yeah.
never too old,
Yeah.
sorry, to sort of learn. And I suppose that's what I've done over the last sort of 5, 6 years. But yeah, I definitely stress it to my kids and to the boys that I teach, mate. Although you want to play football, and it'd be absolutely unbelievable if you do. Get education behind you and actually get something and another sort of passion as well, definitely.
Okay. Who's been the best manager you played under, and who's been the worst? You can choose not to mention names.
Um, no, I'll mention a few names, mate. No, I'm joking. So the best manager. Do you know what? That is a tough one. Um, I mean, the best sessions that I remember was when I was at Northampton
Right.
and Stuart Gray.
Yeah.
Stuart Gray was the manager. The actual coaching sessions that he put on, the detail of them, really good, really, really good. Everything was quick, sharp, but I was learning as well. I think he's actually at Fulham now or something like that. So
Right.
he's had an unbelievable
Yeah.
career. But yeah, his level of detail and his training sessions were really good, mate. Really, really good. I always felt like I learned something from a session, which I suppose looking back at it now, mate, that's a real good thing. And then again, I've played for some managers who I've got 3 sessions up their sleeve, mate, and that's it. You do keep ball, and you do a game, um, and then you get shouted at on a Saturday for not for not doing something right. But but no, I suppose a lot of managers now, mate, are man managers. That they have their coaches behind them who do the coaching sessions for them. And I have played for a couple of managers who I won't mention, mate, but I've got a real dislike for. I suppose the worst thing about it, mate, and you probably know this yourself, is the ones who who lie to you. They're not honest with
Yeah.
you. And I think especially as you get older, you become wiser to the world. You sort of have kids yourself. You obviously know what's going on in the world of football as well. And they still sort of lie to you. I tell you one thing, do another thing, say something to you, and say something to someone else which is completely different. And I just think, I suppose it happens quite a lot in football, but I just think, just in football and in life in general, mate, I don't really know why you do that, because it always sort of comes back round, and you get that sort of reputation. Um, and I remember at one club, I was sort of told that I was going to be getting a contract. Went away, obviously told the family. Sort of had a nice, relaxing summer because I was told I was going to get a contract. It's going to sign again. The first couple of weeks, everything was nice. We booked holidays and things like that, and then he sort of pulled the plug on it, lied to my face, brought someone else in, and just left me in the lurch, kind of thing. And those kind of things stick with you. And I actually haven't seen them managers again or played against them, but it's one of them where I think people like that, mate, who do them kind of things, are just no need for it. Just be honest. Fair enough. Yeah, he wasn't having me as a player. He wanted to bring someone else in. Absolutely fine. But just tell me, I'm an adult myself. I can take it, and it helps me out because I can go and try and sort something out myself
Yeah.
rather than be a month down the line when there's obviously a lot more people trying to find clubs and things like that. So I think just in general, mate, managers that lie to you, tell you one thing, tell you another, are not good at all.
And and finally, Pat, I think maybe you'd be the best to talk about this, the level of the emotional roller coaster within football. One minute you're up there, you're on the high. Next minute, everything could just turn around. For people looking at it from the outside, it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. It's your full time job. You're doing what you like. You're getting paid for what you like to do. But a lot of people don't really look at that side of things and the impact it can have on one's life and the family as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, no, massively, mate. And again, I mean, sort of at our sort of level where you are sort of playing for your livelihood. I mean, in the Premier League, obviously, them kind of guys, obviously, if they don't play well, then obviously it affects
Yeah,
them. Going to affect their sort of livelihood as
yeah,
in such. Whereas at our level, if you're not playing well or you're injured or it doesn't like you're going to get a contract, as you say, it's your full time job. You've got to put food on the table. You've got to feed your kids. You've got to pay your mortgage. So yeah, it is a massive sort of strain. And again, that's another thing. I probably didn't understand that. When I was a young lad growing up, I just thought, oh, if I'm going to make it as a footballer, I'm going to earn lots of money. And don't get me wrong, it's given me a great life. And as I said earlier, I wouldn't change it, mate. But yeah, I mean, you're always sort of thinking, playing year to year. I mean, I think the longest contract I've signed was a three-year deal, but that was probably a couple of years ago. Now, as you get older, you're signing year to year, and you think, Jesus, it's tough. Especially, I mean, if you're not in the team or you're injured, you're thinking, wow, I'm not actually playing in this team here. Am I going to get another club? Am I going to get another contract? Is it going to be over for me? Or if you have a bad game, you get sent off or something, you bring it home to the family. You know, you come home on a Saturday night, your missus wants to take away and a few drinks, and you don't. You're just sulking. The kids are happy to see you've got to pretend to be. Well, you're happy to see the kids, but you know they don't know what's gone on.
I get
They
it.
don't know that you've just been sent off or you haven't played. You've travelled halfway around the country to sit on a bench for 90 minutes. To do some box to boxes after the game and to have a shower and come home, mate. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough, mate. It can be tough, but I think if you do go into it, you need to be mentally strong and try and sort of ride them sort of down times and definitely the up times of winning games, that feeling of scoring, winning, promotion. Definitely outweigh the bad times, mate. Definitely.
And how many times you been sent off in your career to date?
Not so many now, mate. Back in the younger days, in the youth team in the reserves, I used to get sent off quite a lot for some reason. But as I've got older, mate. No, for normally trying to clear up your mistakes, mate, and getting sent off as last man after you give the ball away or something. No, I think I've had 3 or 4 red cards, mate. Nothing major.
Good stuff. Good. I'm sure people watching will see your name pop up as Dean Beckwith, but I keep calling you Pat, and you keep calling me Pat. So just explain. Yeah. I'll leave it to you to explain to our viewers why.
You sure you don't want to do this?
Go on.
I don't really know, mate. To be honest. No, it's something to do with. I'm not sure the viewers, well, the younger ones now, they won't know, mate. But a few years ago in the youth team, for some reason, I used to get called Pat Butcher out of EastEnders, and you was Patrick Truman, weren't you?
No, Patrick.
You was.
Patrick Adjimang, remember?
No. I didn't used to call you Patrick Adjimang, mate. I used to call you Pat because the bloke. I know. It weren't Patrick Adjimang, mate. You was never as quick as Pat.
Look,
man, no, it was Pat Truman.
It's been great talking to you, Pat. It's been how many years now? Pleasure. It's been quite a long time, you know.
And 15, 16 years, mate.
Yeah, all being well. Hopefully, we come out of this coronavirus and we
definitely
catch up, Pat.
100%, mate. 100%, definitely, mate. As I say, well, I hope everything's well your end, mate. The family, as you say, mate. We'll come out of this, mate, and definitely catch up.
Mate.
Definitely.
Look after yourself. Speak to you soon.
And you, mate. Hope it goes well. Take care, everyone. Thanks a lot, mate.